I was saying, I'll also call myself an NPC in some places, in the sense that I'm still living in the separated sense of self sometimes, and not always in the realm of understanding and love. And the NPC that has really the version of NPC that has a really is really anti-truth or has lost himself. Yet that's probably only only possible with evil. But yeah, the people for who the NPC meme is used are usually just normal, ignorant NPCs.
That's what I
Yeah,
disagree. I think that most people, maybe not, but I think most people think about it that way. But I think that in itself is an effect of evil. Well, because for me, the way I see it, by definition, NPC is evil in a way, in the sense that, but it's not evil in the way that evil peoples project evil. Because it's not like evil as, oh, you're evil and I'm good. No, it's, for example, because you're aware that sometimes you're an NPC in certain things, then you're not an NPC. For example, if I
yeah,
were to be in a room with John von Neumann and Beethoven, for example, we're off the chart geniuses on their own fields, then I'm in worldly affairs, I'm an NPC in the sense that I'm a chimpanzee compared to these people in most things. Like, but I'm not an NPC in the sense that I could be aware of that. I could see, wow, this guy, when he puts his hands on the piano, things become beautiful. I don't understand it at all. I cannot do that, but I still could see that. In the sense that NPCness, the way I see it, is not a skill issue. It's not just a worldly thing. In a worldly way, everybody is an NPC in one way or another. There's a room in which any person can be in and they are an idiot. Okay? But that's not for me what means to be an NPC. For me, what means to be an NPC is somebody who is off the world, that they don't have that. Their sense of self is off the world, so to speak. They
yes,
they don't have a spiritual, like the spiritual self, so to speak. I mean, they do have it, but they're completely disconnected from it.
yeah. Um, and but yeah, but that doesn't have to be evil immediately. That can just
But
be
what else is it?
a,
What?
yeah, just a lower form of existence.
No, because the lower form of existence is not NPC like. For example, with regards in comparison to Beethoven, you could say without putting it as an insult in a worldly way, I would be a lower form of existence, but not as an insult, not as a practical thing. Like he can do
Yeah,
things that
but
I
I
cannot
don't
reach.
mean it in the worldly way. They are spiritually in a lower form of existence, just like animals are. Um, and it's also for me by definition, because if they are spiritually at the same level as a Jesus, and they're still deviating from the truth, then they're evil. But the lack of spiritual level, or the lack of spiritual awareness, um, creates that you can't be evil or good in my eyes.
That's interesting because I would agree with that, but I use the word good and evil in a different way. Because I would call what you're describing, maybe I could call it good and bad, so to speak. But evil has a different element to it. Because evil for me is precisely NPCness. It's a lack of presence in a way. So so it has nothing to do with the worldly stuff. So for example, most evil leaders, whether people with power, I also see them as NPCs. It's not like because they are skillful in certain things, then they're not an NPC because of that. It's no, they're still NPCs. They still have, and you can see that because the mask always sleeps, so to speak. So you can see, for example, these celebrities, and then I saw one recently, or a case of this, that you get a little peek into their inner life, so to speak, and they are as mundane as the most dumb NPC. Like there is the same type of trivialities and banalities. Like there's no difference in the way they live their lives. The difference are only superficial in the sense that in the world, they have fame or money or whatever, but they're still NPCs. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that's
but
how.
there is a difference in quality. The NPC is a lack of aliveness,
Right.
but evil
It is a
is
lack of life.
more alive than NPCs.
Badness,
In,
can
in
be,
in a
but
twisted
evil.
way. In a twisted way, it's difficult with evil because it's sort of anti-life, but there is a kind of life in that anti-life. It's a weird paradox, but there NPC just has a lack of aliveness. He doesn't have enough resources to be good or evil.
The way I see it is that if you give resources to an NPC, then he would become evil in the way that you are describing, I believe.
No, I
But that
mean
means that,
resources like spiritual resources, like awareness resources. He's not aware of life enough. He is not alive enough to be good or evil. He just doesn't have the energy, the awareness to go either way yet.
I think that's where the fundamental difference on the way we're looking at things is. Because for me, that's evil. Because that's, in a way,
But why? Why would that be evil? Why would it be evil if you are still unaware?
because it
Why?
is it is a type of willful unawareness. It's an unawareness that is not natural, that you had to hide something in yourself, that you had to repress something. It's not like it's
But
not
it's
like
not for hunter gatherers, for a tribe, primitive tribe in Africa. This is not willful unawareness, right? They're just unaware
usually hunter gatherers are
most of the time.
not it's the other way around. I mean, the ones who were just didn't survive. It's as simple as that. Like, how could you be an NPC in the middle of the jungle? Like, you just die tomorrow. Like
No,
this.
they are all NPCs in the middle of the jungle, usually,
No.
in my view. Because animals survive, so human is a little
Right,
higher than
animals are
that
not
with
NPCs. Animals are animals. They're not
a-
NPCs. NPCs is
animals
a
are animals are even more NPC than NPCs in my eyes.
this. Well, we might be using the word differently here because this is the thing. Like in speaking about heroism again, he he also mentions in the book something that caught my attention so strongly because even it is present symbolically in the idea of the Council of Wolves, which is that at some point he said that in this heroic, innocent people, there's always also present like an element of the savage. That they are in a way savage people too. Even though, I mean, as example of some of these heroes, for example, he speaks about Shakespeare and stuff like that. So they can be like very intelligent and sophisticated people too. But that the innocence, the essence of that type of innocence and heroism includes an element of the savage. So it includes the animal aspects. They are there. It just so happens that we are this type of animal that our nature is to kind of like transcend our animal aspects. But it's not rejecting them or repressing them or pretending that they're not there or hating them or anything like that. It's a different thing. And it is an extension of our nature. Like we are that type of animal, if you will. It's like we're the type of animal that have the awareness that God is within us or something like that. You know, just, so NPCness is the rejection of that awareness in a way. It's like it's a different thing, and that's why I think it's actually the same thing as evil. It's just another modern word, but it's the same thing. And savages, like actual savages, because they're human beings, of course they are prone to the same problems. But if you think about it, if you have a tribe of people that is a small tribe, if they actually become NPCs, then they just die. Because by being a small tribe, like the feedback loops, so to speak, are quicker. So if you have a tribe of 50 people and 45 of them are NPCs, bye bye tribe. You know, maybe the five that are not survive and go away or whatever. But it's like you cannot, because it is a loss of life in a way. Like it is a disconnection from the source of life. Like it is anti-natural in a way, unnatural, and that's for me is
Yeah, but
precisely
it's
like
nat but it's
evil.
natural in its unnaturalness.
Yeah, you
Because
can make that
if you
argument,
look
but
at the NPC, you can see his animal nature that he forgot,
no, you
you
cannot.
know?
Now that's one of the interesting things about the NPCs. You actually cannot see that. They don't have that. They don't bark when it's time to bark. They don't cry when it's time to cry. They don't fuck
No,
when it's time
but
to fuck.
they cry when it's time to bark, and they bark when it's time to cry. But
Exactly.
the animal nature is still in there. It's just mixed up,
Twisted, inverted. Yeah,
but
that's
not
what I mean.
necessarily inverted.
Evil.
Mixed up.
Yeah,
It you can invert it, but it's mixed up because they don't
yeah.
know how it's supposed to be, so they can't even invert it. They
But
can
it's
only
more than
mix it
that.
up.
It's more than that, in my experience. Because if you observe NPCs over a long period of time, you will realize that their behaviors are patterned. They are not just random. It's not that one day it was time for barking and they cried, and the next one it was time for crying and they also cried, and this one they got it right out of chance, and then the next one, it's not a random error. It is pattern. Is that they usually cry when it was time to actually bark, and they usually bark when it was, and they bark usually to the person that they shouldn't bark at, and fail to bark at the one that they should bark at. And if you observe, I have not one, with one exception in my life, haven't seen an NPC that is doesn't behave in a patterned way like that. Because at the end of the day, almost obviously, truth cannot be
Yeah,
ignored. And when you ignore
they
it,
behave
you'll
in
deal
a
with a pattern.
patterned way,
Yeah,
but that pattern is just a pattern of their mind that has run out of control.
right. How do we call that pattern?
Karma, just the laws of action reaction.
I call it evil. I'm tired of looking for nicer ways of putting it. This is not
But it's not
a
niceness for me. I don't care if they're evil. I'm
yeah.
fine with it.
No,
You
for me
know,
it's
I'm
also
not
for
looking
accuracy.
for
Yeah.
niceness or
Yeah.
beautiful stories. It doesn't make me more happier or more sad if they're evil or if they're NPC.
Yeah. For me,
Yeah,
I decided to go along with my instincts and call it evil. Also because it is a bit more compassionate in a way. That is when I was younger, for example, I felt grateful when I read stuff that called it what it was. Even though I could, thankfully, I was able to see some of those things within me. And knowing that they were evil without the judgment was actually very useful for me. I felt loved in a way. I was like, oh, thank for letting me know. So I think we should bring that back. Think we should say stuff like that. I think we should say like, look, this certain type of stuff is evil. Being an NPC is evil. Not speaking truthfully, even when you're mistaken in a worldly way, you still can speak truthfully, right? That's evil. Stuff like that. Sentimentality, for example.
Mm-hmm.
This might be super controversial nowadays for some people. For most, maybe not. I don't know. Sentimentality is evil. It's not. It is not a genuine response to life. It isn't. Again, we have to be careful with the words here. What I mean with sentimentality is not the event of feeling an emotion. Is this overtly weird, like misplaced type of emotionality, for example.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to start using those words again, because it was like the people who are seeking can benefit from it. It is also more truthful, at least for me, to say it, because that's how I see it. And I do think that one of the strategies of evil is to confuse those things, is to distract us with the words, and to say like, oh no, NPCs, oh ha ha ha, some people are NPCs. And it takes away both at the same time the gravity of the situation and the compassion towards the people. At the same time, it takes away those two things. So for me, it's also like, no, it is evil to be an NPC. And if you know somebody in your life that is an NPC, it is okay to know that that's evil. And you don't have to hate them, because if you hate them, then you will also fall for evil.
Yeah, I
But
mean it's true. If you are right, then it's more compassionate to call it evil. But if you're not right, it's not more compassionate.
yeah, well,
Um,
I'm trying to paint a case about it. Um,
yeah,
this is not a speculative thing that I'm just saying. It's something that I have observed. Again, of course, there's always something lost in words. Like words, there's always this semantic stuff. Like maybe I'm using this word in a way that's different, blah blah blah. But that is something that I have truly observed. Like
yeah. But I think that what you have observed can be true still. Um, because it's true that NPCs are sometimes a bit evil. Sometimes they do evil stuff,
that's very generous of you
but they
to say,
haven't doubled down on it. So what you
because
said
they
said
don't have the
about this,
means. Give them the means and watch them. Like you take an NPC, you give them power, that's a tyrant. You take a tyrant, you take away their power, that's an NPC.
yeah, yeah, it may be a tyrant, but it will just be a tyrant that kills a lot of people
Or
isn't
doesn't.
necessarily evil. He can also just be unaware and put in a
Oh,
position that
but
he's
again,
not fit for.
but in this case, we are arguing semantics, because by tyrant, I do not mean somebody who has authority and can exert authority over others. That's just a fact, a worldly fact. This person A has authority and power to exert his authority to others. That's just a fact. That's not good or evil. That's just a
But
fact.
I don't think that if you give NPCs power, that they become evil.
If they are
Some,
NPCs in the way that I'm trying to describe, yes. Maybe in the way that you use in the word, maybe not. But
yeah,
I'm trying to triangulate the.
yeah. I think you, yeah. I think you probably have seen more people who were a bit more aligned with this their center of gravity a little closer to evil than I have seen. I think that
Dude,
that's the case.
have I seen like, most people are like that. I know this is not nice to say, but somebody has to say it.
Most, yeah, but then we're talking about the same thing, right? Because if we're talking about most people, then what I mean with NPC is the same as what you mean, because they're the same people.
Correct. But that's the question. Are we meaning the same? Because the way I see it, because one of the things that helped me see these things clearer was precisely the counter examples. For example, I have been told that a lot in my life because I do, at least since I started, or when I would speak out about things, right? People would tell me, "Oh my God, but why are you?" That is mean for me to say this something, and you're not doing. I'm not saying that you're doing that, but it has happened a lot in my life.
Hmm?
And one of the reasons that I disagree with that basically is because it's not just self-serving. Because oh no, I'm just gonna. I'm not mean. I'm good. No, it's because what about the people who were not like that that I also met, and specifically the dumb ones, because those were more interesting. Even not to say that the ones who are not dumb is obviously a very extremely valuable when you have a person who is both very intelligent and knowledgeable and not an NPC. Very rare, but extremely valuable. But the ones who are dumb are also extremely valuable because the essence, the lack of NPC-ness is what is actually valuable. The rest is worldly stuff. It's just obviously, if the person has more power, more intelligence stuff, they get to manifest that more in the world. Thank God. But it's not a thing about the person. It's thank God. The person is just who they are. They don't have a choice in that. So what about those people? Like people always say, "Oh no, but we shouldn't say that all people, most people are evil, poor people." And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's just the truth because there's a big difference between most people and the people who are actually good, who are not NPCs."
If
And
it's true, you should
it's
say it,
not mean.
of course.
What's that? Sorry.
If it's true, then you should say it, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, at least I perceive it as the truth. Like if if I were to be wrong, then hopefully that will be revealed to me. But most of it, I mean, just for a bit of lore behind this, I did not start by this. I started by trying to make sense of how people are good. Most people are good, but somehow things are shit. I
Yeah, but
really,
that's not
really sincerely
that's
tried.
that's it's not a split. It's not good or evil. There is a third type, and this is actually the most common type. And
That's a
that's
trap.
neither
That's
good nor evil.
That's a trap. It's a trap, brother.
Yeah,
That's Yeah,
I,
it is a
I don't
trap.
think so. I
It
don't
is
think
kind of
so.
like
They don't have a center of gravity
that's impossible.
in that way.
That's impossible. How can going with that metaphor, right? Because the center of gravity specifically is for mass. Can an object not have a center of gravity? It cannot.
It's not really an object.
Exactly. It wouldn't be what it is. So, in a
Yeah,
way, what
but
you
it's
said
not
is
an
true, but it's
it's
not.
not an object in the realm of love. There, it's not an object, the NPC, but it is in the physical realm of power and their thoughts and concepts. That's where they live, and they're sure they have a center of gravity. Maybe they're attracted to philosophy, or maybe they're attracted to football. Maybe sure they have. There are centers of gravity for NPCs in that world of form, but that doesn't matter much. But of course, in the realm where they exist, they have centers of gravity, but they don't have a center of gravity yet in the realm of love, whether it's going to be love or anti love. Most don't have a center of gravity yet. And some, like during your experience as an NPC, as a human, you do kind of random stuff, and you learn what love is slowly. And
If
um,
you, some
before
people,
you, yeah, so but not necessarily during one life, but um, it is true that um, many NPCs have sort of already chosen in their hearts that they are going to align with love, so not with evil, but they don't know it at all yet. They're just you. I can see this in some people. They're not gonna go the evil path. It's also the great majority that goes the good path, but they are still. So in that way, they might already have a center of gravity in some way in the love world, but it takes still 100 or 1,000 or I don't know how many incarnations it takes before
yeah,
they become conscious that they're gonna go that way. So in that way, most people are good, I guess, but
right.
in
Let me,
reality, they're not. They're
right.
nothing. But you say evil, but I say
Yes,
they're nothing yet.
yeah. Nothing is evil when it comes to spirit because it implies the lie because it implies the lie because if you're here in a way,
And nothing
if
is not a lie. If I have
if
a
you're here,
banana or a fake banana, or I have nothing, the fake
right.
banana is the lie. But
But
nothing is not a lie.
if you're here is because you were put here, like the love of God put you here, or the universe, if you don't like thinking about God, but it put you here. So it's not nothing. So the pretense of
No,
nothingness is a lie.
no, but they aren't here. They aren't here. They don't exist,
Right.
or sort of, they do exist in the realm of love, just like cats and dogs do,
Oh, do
even
they?
though they haven't consciously
Maybe.
accessed it. But
Right.
um, NPCs don't exist really in that realm.
Right. No,
They exist in the
that's
lower
interesting.
realm, but it's absence. It's not fakeness or the lie. It's
Right.
just simple absence. It's like being
Well,
dead. Is being
that's
dead evil? No.
that's
It's
interesting. I mean,
just, yeah.
so that's hardcore evil then.
Sorry?
That's like demonic stuff then. But let me say
Why?
something too, because when I said evil, I don't mean that. Oh, you're evil. I don't mean that. I mean it like a technical
Yep.
definition that is like
I know you don't
that is
mean
like
that.
why? Why would I call that evil? Well, because it's ugly. It's horrible. It's like hell. It's like what does that even mean to be here and not be here? How is why like and then again all
I'm
based in
saying
simple
they are
observation.
not here. They are not here, but they are here. Here they are, and we exist in both. But they
Right.
exist only in this one.
Right. So what
That's
happened?
that's my case.
So what happened?
What happened? They aren't there yet. Just like
So
a
it's just a
lion.
skill issue in your opinion. It's just a skill
Yeah,
issue.
like we
That's where I disagree.
you can be in the realm of love, the top one, then the realm of the NPC, of power, of concept, of separate sense of self, and below that you have animals, and they are below the level of NPCs. They don't have separate self yet. So that's how I see it, and every every level has its own distortions, so animals have their own weirdnesses and crazinesses, and that's different than the realm of like of like the elements of earth, fire, water, or the ground. That's even lower than the animals, but everything has an aliveness, right? But you can see gradations, you can see a hierarchy. Um, so what happened? I don't know what happened to the ground that it can't roar like a lion. What happened to it? Nothing happened to it. It's it's not there. It's not alive. The consciousness, the God's essence in it is not formed enough yet, or not strong enough yet to be there.
Right.
So, and that's how I see the NPC. And the NPC has its own insane insanities and insane creations in their realm. But those insane creations are different from the insane creations of evil, because the insane creations of evil are not really insane. There is the truth is in there, but inverted. And in the insane creations of the NPCs, it's just on the level of love, it makes no sense at all. It's nothing.
But that's the thing.
Where evil on the level of love is very clearly the opposite.
Right. But
And NPC is not the opposite.
they are. But the fact that the majority of them are don't have the power to do evil in a more sophisticated way. That's why it seems different. But that seeming different is part of the lie.